Watch this. Painting contractors, have you ever woken up in the middle of the night wondering if you bid the right price on an exterior repaint or even interior repaint? I know I did for years until I used this, which is available for you now. And here I'm going to walk you through the exterior estimating template. This is in a Google Sheet. It needs to stay in a Google Sheet, but this thing is awesome. It helped me to make and close over hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars, and those are conservative estimates. In fact, it's a lot more than that, but it takes some people time to expand their mindset to be able to believe that. So let's just keep it conservative and say hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. But first, why is this so awesome? Well, one is it's going to let you know straight out of the gate if you're making profit, because profit is why we do all this work, right? This is what it's all about. So yes, right here in this section, as you're doing your measure, as you punch your measure in, okay, and I have it all explained for you, as you put your measure in, it's going to let you know where you stand in gross profit, which is very important. How important? Well, if you're less than 40%, which is what average painting contractors do because they just don't understand their numbers yet. And look, when I first started out years ago, I didn't know either. And I was taking on bad clients. I wasn't charging enough and I was making less than 40%. I got in a lot of trouble financially, and I don't want that for you. So make sure you watch this all the way through to see how to use it. You want to make sure that you're in the 40 to 50%. But if you get to 50% or more, which a lot of our members are, then that is very good. In fact, that's great. And that's where you want to be. Many are using this already. You'll see that here, Anonymous Wombat just jumped in and is getting their copy. And you may see more jump in and out while we're here. This is my master file, meaning that when you download this, when you get your access, this is my master file. So the first thing you're going to want to do is select the file menu above, okay, and make a copy, because this is my master file, and then keep it in Google Sheets. Make sure you use a Google Sheets. Don't download it into Excel. You'll lose a lot of the formulas, and I don't want that to happen for you, okay? So just use this Google Sheet, and you will be rocking. Now, how to use it. Here we go. Overview, this is the measure page. Then we have number of coats and the price per gallons. I'm gonna go back to the beginning and walk you through all this. But this quick overview, material page. Here's your labor page. It comes complete with a proposal and scope. You put your logo on there and you're good to go. It's even going to have a field budget for you to track your production rates to see if you're doing jobs as fast as you thought you did, or maybe sometimes you're a little too optimistic and it didn't go as well. It even comes complete with an invoice sheet you can print out. But wait, and a work order for your team. So if you give this to your painters, to your crew lead, and say, listen, I bid some of these areas, okay, and that's where we should come out. But let's circle back to the beginning here. Let me walk you through how easy, how simple this is to use, right? And you would always track your lead source, very important. So first things first, lead source, where are they coming from? So you can double down on the winners and cut the losers straight away. That's how we grew our company, Burnett Painting. Here's an old deal, right? Burnett Painting back before we sold it. In fact, we even wrote a book about it. Okay, how to double your business. It's on Amazon for like $30. Don't go there and buy it. If you want my book, just email me, or I'll send you a copy for free. Just cover the $6.95 shipping and handling, but you don't have to pay retail. BNI, tracking all your lead sources. So that was how we grew Burnett Painting so fast before we sold it, and then put the customer's number down there, name, address. Okay, so I just put ours in. This is well, that's not our real street address. I could have put the business address in there. It's fine. This is a my generation might recognize this phone number. So pop quiz for you younger fellas. Do you know what this number is? Okay, it's a fun phone number from a song from I think the 80s. And then that is my real email. So if you have any questions, email me. However, okay, I do have this here. If you, yeah, I've started receiving way too many emails asking for personal help and coaching on how to operate this, how to work this. And I'm making this video to show you how easy it is so that you can do it on your own. And look, I'm not really trying to sell 30-minute one-on-one coaching calls to operate this because I'm very busy with coaching one-on-one clients as it is. I only put this here to cut down on all the emails I have. However, if you really want a one-on-one coaching session, go ahead and see if I have availability. It's not likely, but you can check there. If you email me asking for help, I'm sorry. Way too many emails. I cannot respond to those. I tried. I couldn't keep up and still run my business and coaching and whatnot. All right. Now, next we have the measure. Okay. Before you get to the measure, you want to put your hourly sell rate in here. I have just 60 in for right now. Okay. And then average labor with burden. This is how much you're paying your painters, including burden. Burden is usually about 23% across the United States. If you're in California, it's more like 28%. Okay. And I forget what it is up in Canada, but you can check with your CPA. They'll let you know what your total burden cost is. Make sure that's in there because that is your labor expense. Okay. And that's going to all work out for your profitability or not. And then you put your date in there and it gives you your price on the spot if you want to. You're going to know exactly how much to charge while you're there if you do your measure. Okay. How do you enter a measure? I'm glad you asked. Here we go. So you have your front side of the home, right side, back side, left side. So for me, when I measured a home, I'd start with the front and I had my measuring wheel. Make sure you're using a measuring wheel. You don't want them to think that you're kind of eyeing it there, right? With the old thumb, doing the wild estimate. No, you want to use a measuring wheel so that measuring wheel, pardon me. You want to use a measuring wheel so that you show that you're using real measurements and that you know your process and that you are prepared and professional. So you start at the front of the house with your measuring wheel. You go around to the right. I have some measurements pumped in here just to save time because you know how to enter numbers. I don't need to walk through and show that to you. So the front, 50 feet, say the rights, and I'm using round numbers too to keep it simple. And then you punch in, 50 for the back, 50 for the left side. All right, and then you come back to the front, siding height. Sometimes actually, sometimes it's taller in the front. Okay, I'm just throwing numbers in there, and you'll see as you're doing this one changes automatically. So what if there's something ridiculous like 20 foot in the front? We're gonna knock it back down to 14 because that's common here. I'm in Florida. I was in Michigan. I'm now in Florida now. Had a paint company in both areas, and there are some differences, but this worked. I used this one for both. Okay, um, measure the height, and then you could use a laser measure, just like we did for the interior estimating template. As you go around the outside, or sometimes you can tell 8, 9, 10. Like I'm 6 feet tall. I know if I stretch on my tippy toes, I can touch 8 feet, right? And then you can kind of guess if it's 1 or 2 feet higher, then you'll know. All right, fascia length. It's usually a little bit longer than the house. Same thing with soffit and soffit width. Now you'll notice down here, gutters. Generally, I didn't include gutters. I just included them in my fascia length and soffit length because if we did those, they were aluminum. We usually sprayed them and we just included that right in. Soffit width, go ahead and put that in. 2 feet, or a lot of times it's like 18 inches, but again, I'm keeping numbers round for you to keep it simple. Trim length, just the length of the trim. Usually there's most trims on the front of the home, sometimes on the left and or on the right, on the left, and maybe none on the back. If there is, just punch it in. It's just that easy, right? Windows, if you're painting windows, just include windows. Mark, I don't know, 4 in the front, right? Whatever it might be. Doors, for each door, each single door. So if there's a double front entry door, then you'd put 2, one on the right side, maybe 2 on the back side. No shutters, and again, no gutters because I just included it up here, but you can. Now, if you're doing decks, you can measure those out right here. Garage door, you want to figure here 1 number per each car garage door, right? So usually it's a double garage door, so we put 2. Now, columns get a little tricky, but I've got you covered. If you notice the black triangles here in the square, those are notes. So it's going to tell you height, diameter, and count of columns. Okay, so maybe these columns are 8 feet tall, which really doesn't make sense for our hypothetical home if the siding height is 14, right? So maybe these are 12. That's probably more accurate. And 1.5 feet wide in diameter, or maybe they're 2. Maybe they're 2 nice wide 2 feet columns, right? And there are 4 of them, 2 on each side. And then there's a porch ceiling. Let's call it 10 by, get the note out of the way, 10 by 12. And again, there's my note for you, okay? I'll shrink that guy a little bit. Shrink these two. Okay, those guys are shrunken. So that's good. There's that. Awesome. So this is the measure. And right away, you can see right now, now you're going to need to add more detail later on or adjust it to your company settings. And I'll show you that in a minute. But first, your labor is $7,617.24. Material, $1,640. And current total is $92.57. But the great news is you know that you're making a 55% gross profit, which is a home run. That's awesome. 55 is a grand slam. In fact, 50 be a home run, 55 is a grand slam. Okay. Now, as you're building this out, you're going to find that maybe your labor rate is not high enough, or you put this number together and you're going to think, um, my price would have been 5,000 for this exterior, 6,000 for this exterior, and you're going to find that you're going to need to raise your prices. Well, that's okay because you pick this up. I have a sales course for you. It's super cheap, like $9 or something, on how to close even when you're the highest price, and it's all about how to communicate more value. And I've got all the strategies in there, so you don't have to pick it up, but I just want to let you know I've got you covered if that's a problem for you and if you're interested. Okay. But until then, you can use this like gangbusters. Now, the next tab at the bottom are number of coats. So you put in your measure, and then you go to number of coats. So over here, siding, 2 coats. Uh, Production rate, I'm 50 feet an hour. So this is per hour. And you're going to be different. Every company is different here. Now, if it's a stucco home, you're probably going to get it in 100 feet an hour. But if it's like wood siding, up in the Northeast, and it needs to be scraped and primed, and you've got everything else going on, you might be as low as like 30 feet an hour. But start at 50 and kind of see where that falls in with your production rates, depending on what type of exterior siding you're going with. And, also if you're brushing, rolling, or spraying, you're going to adjust that accordingly. Okay. So next, we have the first coat spread rate and then first coat cost. What this means is the paint. So the first coat is either your primer or your first coat of paint, whatever the first application is. How far does it go per gallon? Okay. And what is your cost, including tax, per gallon? You would put those here. Then you have your second coat spread rate and your second coat cost. Okay, so maybe your top coat is $60 a gallon, including tax. It's important that you include tax. Put that in there so you're covered in your overhead and you make your gross profit. Then we scroll down. You can enter, 1, yes, and 0 is no. Now, or 2 is no. So rust treatment, mold treatment, pressure wash, production rates, and you can adjust those. Pretty simple. If you feel like I'm going fast, don't worry. You can rewind this video, okay? Or play it again, pause, and learn as you go on your own. Now, material page here, this is for information purposes. You see there are no orange numbers. There are no orange numbers like there are back here. But here on the material, the black is just for informational purposes. Don't change any black numbers. Only change the orange numbers. If you change anything that's black, you will break the formulas and the whole thing will might not work for you. And I don't want that. Okay. Now here it's going to say, okay, we've bid according to our measure and according to our spread rate. We could the siding is going to take 7 gallons, and then the second coat 8 gallons. All right. Our cost, if you mark up the paint, it might be there, and then the sell price $7.60. Okay. Down here, it's going to tell you your total material costs. These are your hard costs so that you know ahead of time. And then if you need to add anything extra, or maybe you're just, you're like, well, there's a unique thingy miscellaneous, I don't know, decoration on the front. And like, how do you charge for that? You don't want to make these sheets so complicated that they include everything. There are some things you're just going to throw some numbers at. And so maybe it's a painter for a day. So you punch in like $500 for the painter for a day. And at least you're covered. And I know it's under prep material. It's not perfect, but you know what? It's highly effective. Okay. I'll take that back out for you. But it's a place to throw in just some extras, whatever you need to here in miscellaneous, just to make sure you're covered. Next, we'll look at labor. So here's labor. And again, black numbers. That means don't change these. It's going to mess up your formulas. And this is one of my favorite parts, you guys. Please listen to this. Painters, pay attention. Every time at the proposal, almost every time, the gentleman, the husband, would say, Steve, about how long do you think it's going to take you to paint? And I'd say, okay. And I'd pull up this tab and I go over this tab and he does always say, listen, I don't expect you to be exact. And I'd say, well, about 127.0 hours or 15.9 man days. And he'd go, whoa, wow, okay, that's impressive. I say, well, thank you. Now, it's usually not 0.0. That's pretty rare. Usually it's like 0.3 or, whatever it might be, 127 point something. But share that detail with them and be humble about it. And they will be impressed at how precise and accurate you are, therefore building more value into your price into your quote so that you're not competing on price, you're competing on value. Remember I mentioned that sales course That's just one of the many key components to help you. When we built our company, we were not the cheapest painter. In fact, we're usually 20% above market, but we were still winning bids on the spot. And a lot of times they tell us to say, you know what, you weren't the cheapest. In fact, you're the most expensive, but we went with you because X, Y, Z. But ideally, is more value. And there are many ways to build in value into your proposal. Speaking of proposals, here we go. It's all, you're going to put your logo here, replace the red stuff. Okay. Put your address here. Their information is going to automatically populate here for you, excluding their email. The price is going to be here. And so is the deposit amount, the balance amount. Now, if you're in California, you need to adjust this down to 10% or move to another state. It's up to you. But we usually ask for 20% down, balance due day of completion. And you put your company here name again. They sign there. And then you punch in the scope of work here. I preferred to write this out while I was there. So I would pre-print these and I'd write in the scope with blue ink. It's very important. And then there's all the clarifications, make sure you're covered, write all the small print. Now watch this. On a Mac, Control P will set you up to print. Now you'll need to go through here, and if you're using a different printer or if on a PC, I'm not sure how to do it on a PC, you just make the adjustments here or just switch the rows around so that it aligns on your printer for you. Okay, so you've got that all set. You can print it right out, print it ahead of time. I like to print mine ahead of time, and then I would write the scope in with ink because paper proposals close easier than emails flying around, or let them know you're going to email. Don't tell them you're going to email it later. Hand it to them while you're there. Okay. Now, field budget. Field budget's for you. You can share it with your crew leader if you like, but this has all of your detail. All right. So here we have the labor and the estimated hours for each line item so that you can come back and double check, triple check your production rates for each one, constantly fine tuning them in to become pretty exact later on, as long as you track them. Okay, this is what we did, and this is thankfully one of the reasons why we did so well. And also the material. So you've got your material cost here, and it's going to let you know, look at that, exactly 1,600. That's kind of fun. Okay, and then track your actual material. And then we have the invoice tab, all right? And here's the fun part. We get to invoice them if you need to. A lot of times we don't. They already know because of the proposal, and it's right there, and they know what the balance is, unless there's some extras. If you charge them some AWOs, additional work orders, which would be great, then you go ahead and use the invoice to make that. Now, here is the most important part of this proposal. I hope you've stayed to the end of this video because I'm really excited to tell you about this. When it comes to winning bids, okay, when it comes to winning bids, I think the most important thing to know is your numbers, to know your numbers. Because when you come in there and you measure this and you know that you didn't guess this, you have a whole new confidence when you present your proposal, and they sense that. And when they sense that you are humbly confident about your numbers, they trust you and they're far more likely to go with you. The flip side of that, right, is if you are feeling wobbly or insecure or unsure about your price, your numbers, they sense that and they don't trust you. So then they start negotiating with you, right? Because they're nervous. They're nervous, and a lot of this is subconscious psychology going on. But once you know your number and you just say, Mrs. Smith, yep, okay, so for the proper preparation and painting of your home, for a premium experience, it's going to be $9,257.23. Only a 20% deposit to get on the schedule and balance due date of completion. We have an opening in 4 weeks. Would you like it? And just pause and just wait for them to say, yes, you know what, Steve, Joe, John, Bob, Jack, Jackie, Sam, Tara, I would love to. Thank you very much. Go ahead and seal the deal and get them on the schedule, collect the deposit, and head out. Make sure you send them a thank you card for having you by. Treat yourself to your favorite coffee of choice and load up the job into your project management program, and then head off to your next estimate. Keep closing them so that you too can double your business. All right. We did it. We've helped hundreds of other contractors build very successful businesses, and you can do this too. So make sure you download this. Make a copy. Okay, make a copy, make a copy, make a copy. Please don't request edit access. This is my master copy. I can't give you access, but you can make a copy. All right. Again, this is Steve Burnett with DYB Coach. And I want to encourage you all to dream big, hustle smarter. You've got this.